A container ship the length of 4 football fields. 90,000 tons of cargo. Electronics. Medicine. Wheat. Your clothes dotted, never made it. On November 19th, 2023, Houthi militants boarded the Galaxy Leader in the Red Sea. Armed men. Fast boats. A helicopter. Done in 12 minutes. That was the opening move. Since that morning, over 100 commercial vessels have been attacked in one of the most critical shipping corridors on the planet. 15% of all global trade passes through here. 15%. The missiles are Houthi. But the price increase? That lands directly in your cart at checkout. This is how it works. To understand what is breaking, you first need to understand what was built. The Suez Canal opened in 1869. Before it existed, a ship sailing from London to Mumbai had to circumnavigate the entire continent of Africa. That journey, roughly 12,000 miles. After the canal, 6,200 miles, cut in half. For 150 years, global trade built itself around that shortcut. Supply chains weren't just designed with the Suez Canal in mind, they were dependent on it. Factories in China, calibrating production schedules to exact transit times. Just-in-time delivery systems with zero buffer built in. Retailers ordering stock not weeks in advance, but days. The entire architecture of modern commerce assumed the Red Sea would always be open. That assumption had one fatal flaw. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the choke point at the southern end of the Red Sea, is only 18 miles wide at its tightest point. Every single ship using the Suez Canal route passes through that gap. Every oil tanker, every container ship, every grain carrier. 18 miles. One missile battery. That is all it takes to shut down the artery. Now, who are the Houthis? They have no navy, no air force, no GDP to speak of. What they have is geography. And weapons supplied, according to US and EU intelligence assessments, primarily by Iran. Then October 7th happened. Hamas attacked Israel. Israel responded in Gaza. And the Houthis announced they would target any ship with ties to Israel transiting the Red Sea. The problem, ties to Israel, was deliberately vague. Ships were targeted with no Israeli ownership, no Israeli cargo, none. The message to shipping companies was simple: use this route, and we will shoot at you. Insurance premiums for Red Sea transits surged by 600% within weeks. The calculation became obvious. Go around Africa. The average container ship rerouting around Africa adds between $1 million and $2 million to a single voyage. That cost doesn't disappear. It moves into the price of everything you buy. December 2023. The attacks weren't slowing down. They were accelerating. Maersk suspended all Red Sea transits. Then Hapag-Lloyd. Then SC. Then CMA-CGM. In 72 hours, 4 companies controlling 53% of all global container shipping capacity made the same decision. We're going around Africa. The Cape of Good Hope route adds approximately 3,500 nautical miles to a journey from Asia to Europe. An extra 7 to 10 days at sea. On a vessel burning 150 tons of fuel per day, that's an additional $630,000 to $900,000 in fuel costs alone, per voyage. But fuel is only part of the equation. More days at sea means more crew wages. More days at sea means ships arriving late to their next port. The just-in-time model that global supply chains depend on begins to fracture. Every delayed ship creates a queue. Every queue creates a bottleneck. Every bottleneck has a price. The first crack appeared in freight rates. The spot rate for shipping a single 40-foot container from Shanghai to Europe nearly tripled between December 2023 and January 2024, from roughly $1,500 to over $4,000 in 6 weeks. Nobody noticed until the bills arrived. Shipping costs don't show up immediately in the price of your groceries or your television. They move through the system slowly, like dye injected into a bloodstream. You can't see it yet, but it's already moving through every vessel. The lag is typically 3 to 6 months, which means the rate spike of December 2023 was always going to show up in your prices somewhere between March and June of 2024. And it did. 3 categories took the hit hardest. Consumer electronics, manufactured in China, Taiwan, South Korea, moving westward through the Red Sea. Lead times extended by 2 to 3 weeks almost immediately. Energy. The Red Sea carries significant liquefied natural gas from Qatar toward Europe. When tankers rerouted, European gas prices ticked upward. In a continent still rebuilding energy security after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, measurably is enough to matter. And food. Ukraine and Russia together account for roughly 30% of global wheat exports. The rerouting crisis layered a second shock onto food supply chains already strained by war. Grain shipments to North Africa and the Middle East faced extended delays and elevated costs. The World Food Program flagged it quietly. Most Western headlines did not cover it. Nobody noticed until the bills arrived. Financial shocks don't announce themselves. They accumulate. They travel through invisible pipelines. And then they show up in your weekly grocery run. And you have no idea they started with a missile battery on a Yemeni hillside. Here is the math behind the damage. The Red Sea and Suez Canal route handles approximately 12% of global trade by value. That means roughly $1 trillion worth of goods passes through this corridor every year. When that corridor is disrupted, you are not rerouting cargo. You are rerouting a $1 trillion pipeline. The IMF estimated in early 2024 that the crisis was adding between 0.5 and 0.7 percentage points to global goods price inflation. That sounds small. It is not small. Every central bank in the developed world was trying to bring inflation down. The Red Sea crisis was pushing it up, quietly, persistently, from below. Tesla announced it was temporarily halting production at its Berlin gigafactory. The reason? Part shortages caused by Red Sea disruptions. A car factory in Germany shut down because of missiles in Yemen. Volvo, Suzuki, and multiple European auto parts manufacturers reported the same. The auto industry, which had just recovered from the semiconductor chip shortage, was back in shortage territory. The fashion sector collapsed in slow motion. Zara's parent company disclosed Red Sea disruptions were impacting supply chain timing. H&M made similar disclosures. The fast fashion model, built on the assumption that a garment designed in Spain could be manufactured in Bangladesh and arrive in European stores in 3 weeks, was running up against the new mathematics of a disrupted sea lane. And then there was insurance. War risk premiums for Red Sea transits surged by 900% from pre-crisis baselines, according to Lloyd's of London market data. When those premiums stay elevated, they don't stay contained to shipping. They signal to every risk market in the world that the Red Sea is not a temporary crisis. It is a permanent feature. The collapse wasn't a single moment. There was no Lehman Brothers morning. No single front page that said, "The Red Sea is closed." It was slower than that. And slower is, in many ways, worse. Because when the crisis is slow, nobody sounds the alarm. Everybody adjusts. Everybody absorbs. And by the time the full cost is visible in the data, you're already paying it. Every financial crisis in history follows the same arc. Not similar, not roughly comparable. The same, 5 stages. They repeat across centuries. Stage 1, complacency. For 30 years, global trade operated on one unexamined assumption. The sea lanes are open. They will stay open. Plan accordingly. Complacency doesn't feel like complacency when it's happening. It feels like optimization. Stage 2, excess. By 2023, Over 80% of the world's container shipping capacity was controlled by just 9 companies, 3 major alliances. When 9 companies all make the same bet, the fragility isn't diversified. It's concentrated, stacked, waiting. Stage 3. The warning. The Houthi movement had been firing missiles for years. The Red Sea had been identified as a strategic vulnerability in multiple naval intelligence assessments. Dating back to 2018, the IMF had published research on shipping route concentration risk. The information existed. The analysis existed. Nobody acted on it, because acting on low probability risks is expensive. And in a competitive industry, expensive precautions are a disadvantage. Until the day, they're the only thing that would have saved you. Stage 4. Panic. 72 hours. 4 carriers. 53% of global capacity. All rerouted simultaneously. Every individual decision was completely rational. The collective result was chaos. Stage 5. Reset. The system has not returned to its pre-crisis state. It has reorganized around a new, more expensive normal. Manufacturers are diversifying supplier bases. Retailers are rebuilding inventory buffers they spent 30 years eliminating. The reset looks like recovery, but it's the construction of a new, more expensive system. And you are funding that construction, one slightly higher price at a time. History is useful only if it tells you where to look now. 3 signals active right now in 2026. Warning sign 1. The attacks have not stopped. Despite U.S. and coalition military operations running for over 2 years, Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping have not been eliminated. Major carriers have still not fully returned to standard Red Sea transit schedules. The war risk insurance premium remains significantly elevated. The market is still pricing in the risk, which means the risk is still real. Warning sign 2. The Panama Canal is under pressure simultaneously. The Panama Canal has been operating at reduced capacity since late 2023 due to severe drought lowering water levels in Gatun Lake. The Panama Canal handles roughly 5% of global trade, including the majority of container traffic between Asia and the U.S. East Coast. 2 of the world's 6 major maritime choke points under stress at the same time. The probability modeling behind global supply chain resilience was not built for this scenario. Warning sign 3. The inventory rebuild is masking underlying fragility. In response to these disruptions, major retailers began rebuilding inventory buffers through 2024 and 2025. This rebuild created a temporary surge in shipping demand, keeping freight rates elevated. When that rebuild cycle completes, and it will complete, shipping demand will drop sharply. Freight rates will fall. Carriers will cut capacity. The overcorrection after a supply shock historically creates the conditions for the next disruption. The reset sows the seeds of the next complacency. The wheel turns. The Red Sea didn't break the global economy. It did something more dangerous. It revealed that the global economy, the one moving your goods, setting your prices, funding your pension, was built on a foundation of unexamined assumptions. And every time that foundation gets tested, the same cycle runs. Complacency, excess, warning, panic, reset. The players change, the assets change, the geography changes, the cycle does not. Which raises the question you should be asking right now. If the Red Sea exposed the fragility of maritime trade, what does the same analysis reveal about the Taiwan Strait? 80% of the world's advanced semiconductors, one of the most contested waterways on the planet, and a set of assumptions about its stability that look, from where you're standing now, very familiar. That story is next.